Alrighty. Hi guys and welcome back. This is episode 3 of the mini grad series. My name is Brooke and we're here with us. We have Erica and Derek. Also, we have special guests, the Black Panther guys, the original Black Panther. So here he is with us. How's it going, Chris? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on here. Yes, so my name is Chris. I am a male hygienist practicing out of Atlanta, Georgia. I've been practicing for 4 years. I'm the founder of Profi Kings and also the original Black Panther, as she said.
Yeah, thank you for being with us today. So the goal of our video today is to kind of give you guys some real world insights. So you've now passed boards, you've now received your license, and now you are a real hygienist. Well, you were always a real hygienist, but officially a licensed registered dental hygienist. So we're just going to explain to you guys a little bit of our own experiences. So transition from clinic, school clinic, to now real world clinic.
All right, everybody, make sure y'all a little reminder to register and become a member of Brown Girl RDH. We have the student membership for $20 out there. It also includes access to all scholarships, sponsorships for dental conventions, as well as discounts on mission trips. I know they just recently went to Jamaica, which is awesome. A great scene, able to help a lot of people. Mentoring, employment resources, study and advice. And also you have the ability to get an upgrade to the more professional's license once you actually graduate. So that's a discount and that's a service that you have to take advantage of. So make sure y'all become a member with Brown Girl RDH.
Yes, please do that. So we're just going to kind of start off with how you want to prepare for your first day. So first and foremost, you're going to be really nervous. There's nothing that I can tell you to change that because, you know, it's your first job as you are licensed. Like, think about your first day of clinic, how nervous you were about that. It's that times 10. I'm sorry. But we just kind of want to get you as prepared as possible so there's nothing else that you need to be nervous about. Do you guys remember your first days of work? Do you guys remember being nervous about that?
Yeah, for sure. I remember that morning I came down in my scrubs and I was like, you know, like really feeling myself. But at the same time, like, I was just like, wow, like this was my dream. Like, this is happening. And so the first day was just really surreal because one, I was so nervous, but two, just trying to remember everything, trying to make sure I was prepared, trying to make sure I had everything. And so it was a little nerve-wracking. How about you, Chris?
Oh yeah, I definitely remember my first day. I actually remember the drive there because I was just nervous. I was excited. Obviously, it was my first time walking in and I didn't really know what to expect. So like seeing patients at school was very different because I was comfortable at school. I knew I had my instructors having my back, right? These people hired me. They said, I'm going to pay you to see these patients. So they're not checking behind me, you know, and things like that. So I didn't have that safety net feeling. So when I was driving in, I was like, all right, Chris, this is it. this is it, man. You better perio chart. You better do it right. You know, like,
yeah. I remember going back and checking a couple of my probing depths too, just making sure. But also, I want to say that I actually brought my clinical book with me. So I brought it in the car just in case. So at lunch, I was like, you know, like thumbing through pages and I'm like, okay, you know. So how about you, Erica? How was it?
I was really quite nervous. I did the thing too where I put on like my scrubs, like my new black scrubs and my jacket, and I was really excited. Took my pictures like first day of school, but you know, first day of work. And then like I got there and I just kind of remember like for like a second, I kind of glazed over like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Oh my God, I'm a hygienist. Like, oh no, what do I do? Like Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like I was so nervous, but luckily everybody at my job was really supportive. it's like when you get to your office and you have a lot of questions, that's fine. They understand that you are freshly coming out of school and that you're going to have a lot of questions because they understand that things are different. So don't be too nervous about the fact that you want to understand the differences. So just have a really good attitude about it. Don't go in there thinking you know everything, because I promise you, you don't. Just be really positive and just be kind to yourself, because you're not going to know everything right off top. Kind of some things that you want to bring with you. Have a copy of your license, your hygiene license, and a copy of your CPR card. A lot of your offices are going to want to keep a copy of that on hand, so that, you know, just in case they get audited or something like that, they have it. So bring a copy of those with you. And then also you have to have it wherever you go anyway. It needs to be displayed somewhere, wherever it is you're working, your license. So you want to make sure you have that with you. So when you get to your job, these are things that I always forgot, because I only had to do it once when I was in the military, and I didn't have to do it ever again. You have to bring like stuff for your taxes. So bring like your social security card and your state ID to have with you, so that they can get all that stuff done with all of your forms. Now don't ask me how to fill out those forms, because I still don't know. But I do know that you need to have, you know, a certain amount, like a certain type of identification with you to fill out those papers. Make sure you have your bank account information, routing number, account number, that kind of thing for your paychecks, because that's, you know, really important part, because you want to make sure you're going to get paid. Bring snacks and stuff, because you never know what your schedule is going to look like. You might end up with like their second patient of the day that doesn't show up, so you have a second to kind of grab a snack, grab something to drink while you're waiting. But then, you know, you get bombarded, and then you end up, you know, working a little bit into your lunch, so you don't have quite an entire lunch break. So you want to kind of bring snacks and stuff like that to kind of hold you over, so that you don't get to the end of the day and you're starving and dehydrated. Nobody wants that. So kind of have something that you can go in and have that waiting for you. And for me, what really helped me out, trying to stay on time and keep everything together, is setting a routine for myself. It depends on the appointment, whether it's a maintenance, a prophy, a SRP, but I do everything in the same order at every single appointment, so that I know that I'm not missing something. Because like we said earlier, people are not coming back to check to make sure you've done everything. So that's how I keep everything situated for myself. And then just communicate whatever you need. Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Never be afraid to ask questions.
I totally agree with you though on setting a routine, making sure that you have enough patient napkins. Like for us, we do like a patient napkin packet where it has the section, little prophy paste, floss, you know, making sure that you're prepared. And really you have enough time in between patients where you can just make these little packets and have everything ready. I feel like when I was in school, one of the biggest things that they would really try to tell us is like, don't waste any time. Make sure you are prepared. Make sure, you know, try to predict what things you might need. And, you know, you can't always predict everything, but I make sure, okay, I have my fluoride out. Okay, I have this. Do I know where my extra instruments are? So things like that, I think that's a really good tip. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Oh, go ahead, Derek.
No, I was going to ask Chris, what were some of the things that, being that you have a little bit more years on us, what were some of the things that help you get prepared during your appointments and prior, whatever?
Yeah, I actually wanted to piggyback on all this. Like, so for one, I want most people to realize that having a copy of your license, your CPR card, and social security card, you know, things like that, a lot of times they're going to request those things via email. So you won't even necessarily need to bring that stuff in. And a lot of offices will actually just ask, what is your license number? Because anybody can look up anyone's license number. You can look it up and they can pull it up, make sure that you're valid and you're licensed. And they'll pull it up and they can just print, you know, they can print it off and have it up. Or you can bring it to be just more convenient. You can bring it with you. And, you know, because I know for me, I was super proud of mine. So I brought mine. I was like, here it is. Here you go. Put that up. See, put it right there next to the doctor's right there. So yeah, but definitely when you come into an office, always have a good attitude because you want them to feel like you're going to be a valuable member to their team. No one that comes in with a negative attitude is going to be looked at with value. Okay, that's first and foremost. Come in and be very inquisitive. Don't, like Erica said, don't be afraid to ask questions. You have to get to know the office. I'm gonna tell you guys like this, and I put this on one of my YouTube videos. Every office is literally like a different universe. It's literally like a different universe. No office is the same. You're gonna go in, it's gonna be the doctor, his mind has just exploded into this office. Whatever he or she has created for the atmosphere there, and then whatever the work, you know what I'm saying, whatever the people who work there, front desk, the dental assistants, the hygienists, whatever environment they've created, you're stepping into that. So you have to get to know them as much as them having to get to know you. So that's very, very important. You will not go to an office that is exactly the same. Their sterilization setup will be different. Your setup, your instrument setup will be different. Your tray will be different. You know, everything will be different. So, yeah.
And I feel like just like you said, that's always the thing that I try to stress the most is just having a positive attitude. Because you can go in there and it can look like a full schedule, and then by 9 o'clock, the schedule could have already fallen apart.
Right. And
you know, you can't, oh man, it's gonna be another day. Like, you just can't have that attitude, because it's like there's still things to do. You can help out your team. Go ask the assistants, do they need anything? Go ask the front desk, do you guys need me to make any calls for you? You know, make yourself a valuable member to the team.
Yeah, I think it's important too to determine what type of hygienist you're going to be, because there's a lot of different types of hygienists. There's very anal hygienists that are very on a set routine. They do the same exact thing all the time. There's some people who are more free flowing. They go based off of the patient, you know, and the relationship and where they are in treatment with the patients. Then there are people who don't, and this is just being real with y'all, because I feel like the people that are going to watch this, they're going to want to know the real. What's real is that there are some hygienists who are divas, right? Who don't want to help. They don't want to help. Right. And it's okay. If that's how you are, you're like, I just want to see my patients, that's fine. Depending on the atmosphere, it's okay, right? Some offices will frown upon that because they're very team oriented, and they're like, hey, if you got downtime, assist the doctor. Some hygienists are like, I'm not your dental assistant, I'm a dental hygienist. So you need to have an assistant for that. Some hygienists are like, I'm not cleaning toilets. Some are okay with that, you know? So just determine early on what type of hygienist you're gonna be, and be that. And let your office know that. Don't switch up, because I had issues with that in the past. Going in behind another hygienist, you know, because to be honest, being in the military and being a guy, I don't mind doing certain things. Like, I'll take out the trash for the office, because I was raised that way in my household. Like, men, we take out the trash, right? So I'll take out all the trash. I'll try to one carry it, you know what I'm saying? Like, all the trash. But the hygienist before me may not have taken out the trash, you know? So just determine those things early on.
So when you say that you've had those experiences, was it because the person before you was such a diva that they kind of expected that from you too? Or what was that about?
So there was a lot of different things. There was expectations that was put on me that I was used to a certain type of way, right? So like, I was used to, if I wasn't able to clean a room, the assistant would clean the room because I had to move on to another patient. The hygienist before me, she cleaned all her rooms. Like, that's just the way she flowed. She made sure her room was clean. And maybe she wasn't as busy. Maybe she just had a different setup of how she did things, and she was able to take care of that. I had issues in the office before where they were like, Chris, you left the room dirty. And I'm like, yeah, but I had like 2 other patients waiting on me. I had to move on. So I was assuming that you would take care of it, you know, but it was a lack of communication, and the expectation wasn't spoken of. You know, they didn't say, hey, Chris, we expect that you clean your own rooms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was a miscommunication where I'm thinking they're doing one thing and they're thinking I'm doing something as well, but we're not communicating about it.
Okay,
so,
which like brings us to a really good point. And, you know, just making sure when you're doing that interview, asking those questions. Because we did have that in our last video, but making sure, like, clarifying, what are your expectations of me? You know, and if I can't break down this room, who can come in? So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Right.
So with that being said, that was a good transition for us because we'd like to talk a little bit about some of the differences from school to real world. So one of the things that we talked about was, I think when I was in clinic, we had 2 people on rotation who would come help break down the room for us, and they would kind of help do our radiographs or serialization. And in the real world, I did it all, you know, like that was like one of the first things I learned was I'm going to be breaking down my own room. I'm going to be taking my own radiographs. And so one of the biggest things that I noticed when I first started was, you know, you spend 3 hours in clinic, and I don't know, Derek, I think, is that kind of how your guys' program is too? Like you get 3 hours in clinic with one patient?
Yeah, you get 2.5, and the rest of it's documentation and, like you said, cleaning your room and breaking down. But that was the biggest thing. We didn't have a situation where we had individuals rotating to clean, but we did have people who were there, our front back assistant. It was only one with my class, and we had like 14 people in the class. But that individual was most likely taking care of the actual clinic itself. So they wouldn't be coming in to help you. So that's interesting because all I know is you got the 2.5 hours, and then you need to make sure it's done and everything's finished by that 3 hour mark. And that is one of my biggest concerns is time management. I know trying to figure out that preparation to make sure I'm efficient and clicking. I know we did our private practice and making sure that went well. So having an understanding of what Chris was saying, having an understanding of do you have an assistant or not, and how are you going to be as effective as possible is usually my biggest concern about when going from school to clinic session, to actual real world clinic session.
So one of the biggest things for me that I realized was when I first got started, because nobody is checking on you, you're not waiting for an instructor. And, you know, typically the instructor is sharing like 5 students. So the instructor has to go by and check on everybody. You know, we would have to put our name on the board or hit a light to wait. So that was one of the biggest things was because I knew what I needed to get done. Okay, I'm going to take my radiographs. I'm going to do my perio chart. You know, it was like more fast paced because there was nobody that I had to wait on anymore. The only thing I really had to wait on was just the doctor to do their exam. I don't know about you guys. How was that?
In my school, we had somebody that worked in sterilization, so I didn't really have to do a whole lot with my own instruments. There was somebody in there that took care of that, but everything else I did on my own. We did have somebody that worked in the like the radiograph section. They would set up trays for us with like our XCPs and stuff like that, but we took our own, and they would clean the room behind us, which saved us a lot of time, but we took all of our own x-rays and all that jazz. So by the time I got to like real world hygiene, I just had, my first thing was learning what their sterilization process was. And then after I figured that out, everything else was stuff that I was already doing. But in my office also, if our assistants were busy and I couldn't clean my room and I needed to hop into another room, our front desk ladies were really, really nice. They would go throw on a lab coat and they would clean our rooms for us also.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Versus.
Oh yeah. I had it pretty good with the girls that worked at the front because they would really help me out so much because it was a teamwork thing. They would help me out if I needed it, but if there was like a treatment plan that needed to be entered and I felt comfortable enough to do it to fix the piece or whatever, I did that so that I could save them time also. So it was really like a really good back and forth that we had in that office.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so for me, the way our school was set up, I had in my cohort, which is what we call our groups, cohort, I had about 13, probably about 12, 13 people in that. And we always had a CA, that's what it was called, a CA, clinic assistant.
Clinic assistant,
which would be one of us in our cohort who was scheduled to basically take care of the clinic for that day and do anything that we needed them to do. Like if it was like, hey, I need more gloves over here, they would go get gloves. So they're basically just like an assistant for everyone. What else? We took traditional x-rays, and we also had a digital sensor, but the digital sensor was scarce because we only had one. So everybody's sharing the digital sensor, or you're taking the film ones.
When you said you use regular film, not PSP? plates?
No, we had regular film tabs
Mhm.
that we had to run through the processor. So we had to learn that first. They wanted us to learn that first. And then we
Yes.
graduated to using the digital sensor. So yeah, huge difference. But I'm gonna say first, and then we had 4 hours to see our patients. Huge difference when transitioning from school to real world. You don't have that much time. Okay, you don't have 4 hours. But the good thing is that, like Brooke was saying, you don't have to wait on an instructor anymore. So you can run through your assessments as fast as you need to and as fast as you're capable of without having to wait. I just did the blood pressure. I'm waiting for them to come and check the blood pressure, because we used to have to do that. We had to do the blood pressure and vital signs and get checked for that, and then move to the assessments, and then do our assessments, fill out that whole paper, and then get checked on that before you do it. Oh my God. I was so happy to not have to do that. Because by the time you're a senior, you're over that. You're like, I don't need you checking if they are okay, if they're still alive. Their vital signs are good. I'm ready to move on to the next thing.
You can't dismiss your patient. We need to make sure they're alive. Like,
right.
Y'all just saw them walk by.
Right. They're still breathing. I'm sure there would be a panic and frenzy going on right now if something was wrong. But yeah, so that's one of the biggest things is you don't have that much time, which is great. No one's checking behind you, so you got to make sure I don't want to jump the gun because I know we're going to talk about documentation later, but you definitely want to make sure your documentation is on point. And we'll go more in depth, I guess, as we get
No, for sure. Let's talk about it now, because I think that's like one of the biggest things, especially because you don't have so much time. You still need to make sure that you are being responsible for yourself and for your license and covering your butt. I've had instances where, I've documented a patient crying because they had a rough day, to a patient complaint, to patient declining treatment. And that was like one of the biggest things that I made sure, where my office manager was like, well, you need to hurry up. And I said, no, I need to take this time and put in the notes specifically what happened. And one of the first offices that I worked at was all paper charts. So what I would do is I would actually, if a patient declined Reston, for example, I would have them sign, I put Chris declined Reston due to financial reasons.
Hey, don't do me like that. Don't do me like
that. So I would make sure to document it, and then I would put an X and a line underneath. So I would say, look, this is what I put in the chart. Could you please sign it, And everybody would always sign it, but it's just the fact of, the office manager can try to say what she wants. But if I get called into court, I'm the one who's responsible, not her. She doesn't have a license to lose. So for me, it's really important to just take that time and set it aside, even if it means it's going to go into my lunch, or if I'm going to have to be there a little bit later, or, they want you to clock out, fine, I'm going to clock out, but I'm still going to make sure to document what I need to.
Right. So one, being licensed, that's a big thing. Being licensed, okay, all you viewers out there, documentation is what will save you when you forgot that something happened, right? You have a situation that's going on. It can be anything, like Brooke said. It can be anything that you're documenting. Sometimes those things come back up, and it can be an issue. I want to think of a specific scenario. I can't think of anything right now. Something will come to me, and I'll bring it up. But documentation is important. And then let's not even just talk about the license, but you will forget. Okay, so make sure that you, because you got 5 other patients, 6 other patients you're about to see for the day, and they're all coming in with different things going on. So documenting what happened during the appointment. You don't have to document everything. They sneezed at 12 o'clock, with COVID now, I don't know. You might want to be like, look, they did sneeze like twice. So I need to complete it. But
one time.
But no, you definitely don't want to forget certain things that happen. And it's good also for building relationships with the patients, documenting stuff you talk about. Like I document whenever a patient comes in and says, hey, I'm pregnant, I always write that down. So that when they come back, I'm like, how's the baby? Or they're getting ready to deliver. Because a lot of times you'll see a patient, if you see them at, 6 months into their pregnancy, the next time they come see you, they're going to have a baby, but they're going to be flat. It's not going to be a big bulge no more. So you want to notice that, like, hey, so how's the baby? Let me see pictures, you know? So you document those things. It helps to build relationships as well.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, you also want to talk about kind of how your patient reacts to information that you're giving them. Like, for example, we had a patient at one of the office I worked at. He had been told for years that he needed a crown on a tooth, but every time somebody tried to talk to him, the doctor tried to talk to him about it, he just blew it off. Completely blew it off. And so every time somebody would annotate that, hey, we discussed all of the different, pros and cons of getting this treatment, all these things. We discussed that with the patient. The patient wasn't paying attention. Patient blew off all this information. Well, fast forward a couple of years that he broke his tooth, and we couldn't restore it anymore. And he's like, well, nobody told me. Actually, we have it here. We've told you multiple times. Yeah. That's why we told you that you needed to get this done so that we could avoid this. And like, he just was going off the rails thinking that it was our fault. And it's like, no, we discussed all of these things with you multiple times. We have it documented, and there's nothing that we can do about it at this point. This is on you.
And another thing, I'm glad you said that, Erica, because it made me think of patients will let you know stuff that they don't like as well. You want to document that.
Yes.
So I have certain patients that say, I don't like the Cavitron. Don't use that. And the last thing, if that's your normal, if you got a routine of how you do things, you sit a patient down, you do your assessments, and you whip out the Cavitron and you start going, you don't want to do that on somebody that's already told you, I don't like this. So, because they're going to be sitting there, and most of the time they'll sit there and they'll just let you do it. And then when they get a second, when it builds up in their mind, they're going to be like, excuse me. And then you be like, yes. and they'll say, I thought I told you I don't like that machine. And then you're going to be feeling real, you're going to get hot. You're going to be like, oh, God, I just Cavitroned you for like 30 minutes, and you told me already that you didn't like this. So documenting, and then also sometimes you have temps come in and work after you, work and see your patient. They need to know, certain things, especially stuff like that. They don't like, you get patients who will say, I don't like a certain flavor of polish. I have some that say they don't like a cherry flavored polish. So I got to make sure I don't put cherry flavor. They're expecting me to remember that, even though I see thousands of people a year,
Yeah, that's what they were explaining to us, I guess, in school. Like, when you document, you want to document as if there's a total stranger hygienist coming into your chair, they know exactly how to treat your patient, and make sure they don't do those things that you're saying. Yep. The allergies, the things that they don't want to do. They don't want the Cavitron. Maybe they don't like hand scaling. Maybe they want the Cavitron, or they don't like the low vacuum suction, or those different things that really, I guess, will bother them. How they are seated. I think that idea, as well as most importantly to me, is the conversation about court and civic, and making sure you have those documentations, so you can't be put in a situation where you're responsible for something that you did do or you did tell the patient.
Right.
Another thing that I really try to document too is patient education, because I feel like first and foremost, that is our job. We should be educating our patient. Don't get mad at them because they have gingivitis and you have yet to explain, first of all, what is gingivitis? Second of all, how can you treat it? So, like giving them those home care instructions, I make sure to spend at least 5 minutes with my patient. Let's try this flossing technique. Have you tried this brushing technique? And I make sure to put it in my notes. That way, when they come in for their recare visit, I can follow up with them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I would think that kind of goes into like knowing your scope of practice and kind of the things that you can kind of do within your license, because we were talking about how Brooke, you said that your office manager would sometimes come in and be like, you need to speed up and do these kinds of things or that kind of thing, and you need to know that it's your license and that it's your license on the line, not somebody else's. I think that that's really important for you to know, because you'll end up in a situation where you'll have people that are telling you things to do that don't have the license. They don't have the legal ramifications on their hands that you do. So you need to be really, you really need to know your laws and rules for your state. particularly knowing what's within the scope of your practice, and knowing what you can and can't do, and knowing what you must do and to take care of your patient. Somebody told me once, and it really stuck with me, when somebody who was working admin was trying to tell me something to do. They were like, that's not their license. They're not the person that's going to be dragged into court. That's not going to be the person that has to testify. It's going to be you. So you make sure you take care of what it is you're doing and make sure that you do it correctly within your scope, because it's not going to be them that gets in trouble. It's going to be you. So that's really important to be comfortable and be confident in the fact that that's your license. So never feel like you need to do something that is outside of your scope of a practice because somebody that is your supervisor is telling you to. Don't, because they're not going to get in trouble. You are.
Yeah, for sure. One of my first experiences, actually, I was waiting for my license. So I was doing the job interviewing process, and I had a couple of doctors who wanted me to come in to do a working interview. And I had told them, like, hey, I don't have a license yet. And they're like, oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. You can come, and, you know, you'll only have 3 patients. And so I was like, I don't think I can if I don't have a license. And they're like, oh, no, it's fine. You can do it. You know, we're going to have a scale and route planning, you know. And so I went back to check what the laws were in Colorado, and specifically, you cannot do that if you do not have a license. So I was like, you know, thank God. And you just have to advocate for yourself. Look it up. What is it? Is it right? Is it wrong? You know, you need to advocate for yourself, because God forbid I would have done something and hurt the patient, been taken to court. I would have lost my license before I even really had my license. Yeah. You know?
I had someone, while I was still waiting on my license, a friend of mine who had already graduated, that reached out to me and was like, hey man, I got a job, an office that I was going to temp at, but I picked up another office and I don't want to leave them hanging. He was like, can you work that office for me? And I was like, well, I don't got my license yet. He's like, don't worry about it, bro. He's like, they don't even check license. I was like, first thing I'm not about to do is potentially lose my license before I get it. Okay, that's the first thing I'm not about to do. You just got to tell that office, you can't make it. You're gonna take another one. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure you follow those laws and know your scope of practice, know what you can and can't do, and know what will put your license at risk.
Yes, for sure. One of the things that I actually noticed too was, I don't know if you guys have this in your state, but I had interviewed a couple of times, and one of the things that they told me were like, hey, just to let you know, like, we might pay you for this interview. I'm like, just to let you know, it's the law. You have to pay me for this interview, this working interview. So if you're going to go work, you need to get paid. So kind of brings us back to that. And then I don't know if you guys have had this experience yet, but the patient who declines further treatment because they just want a prophy. They just want to get their teeth cleaned. They don't want to deep.
Yeah, I've had plenty of those. So many. Yep. I've actually had patients walk out on me before, after I've spent all this time explaining to what they need, and they're like, can I just get a regular cleaning? I mean, no, don't say it like that, but it's like, a regular cleaning is not going to do anything for you except disrupt the bacteria and just make things worse. And I don't feel comfortable giving you mediocre care when you need this specific care. So don't feel like you have to just do a prophy on a patient that needs SRP. If the patient declines that treatment, the patient declines that treatment. And don't feel that you have to kind of give into that pressure, because patients will pressure you and no, you guys, you can just do this. No, I can't. That's going to give you mediocre care, and that's going to look bad on me, and that's going to jeopardize my job. And I'm not here to jeopardize my job. I'm here to help people. I'm here to educate people. And that's what I'm doing. I'm educating you and telling you exactly why I'm not going to just do a prophy for you. So be firm in your beliefs, and let your patients know, don't let them know this is not how things are going to be going. Thanks.
And again, document everything that just happened, document. So can't stress that enough, guys.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I know everybody stated that you would go look up your laws. Where would one find those things if I wasn't aware?
Usually on like your state's Board of Dentistry website.
Okay.
That's where we found our stuff. We also got like a booklet in school that helped us figure those things out. Trying to figure out what was within your scope of practice if you didn't remember.
And I actually downloaded mine as a PDF and I saved it to my phone. So I still go back every, like, I'm not going to lie, I probably go back every, like, once a month just to review it. Just, you know, I want to make sure that I'm following everything. Another thing I try to do is, like Erica had mentioned before, you don't know everything. And I don't know, Chris, if you've had this experience, but on a weekly basis, I feel like I'm still learning things. I feel like I'm still seeing things where I'm like, oh, I think I remember hearing this, you know, in class, and just kind of putting all of that to practice now. So you're not done learning. It just continues.
Right. And that's the whole point of the fact of being a healthcare provider. That's why most doctors and clinicians in any sense is called practicing, because you are always learning new. There's always new advancements being made. So that's why we take CEs. We could take continuing education, because if it was a one and done kind of thing, we would just go to school to be a hygienist once and we wouldn't have to take education, because we already know teeth, take care of them. You know, we just do that, you know, but it's always new factors. It's always new things being added. I wanted to piggyback off of what we were just talking about with the, what was it? I'm drawing a blank right now. What
happens to me all the time. We were talking about knowing your within your scope of practice, and knowing what you can and can't do as far as what other people are asking of you. And
we were talking about people rejecting treatment. Yes, that's what we're talking about. I'm sorry, I was trying to look up the word. I'm sorry, I blanked out.
Okay.
I tried to look up in ethics. We learned a word or a phrase that was like no contendere or something like that. Like
non-malfeasance.
Yes.
Non-malfeasance.
So like that's that do no harm kind of thing. So that always flashes in my mind when a patient starts to go back and forth with me about the SRP or treatment that we're recommending. I'm saying, well, listen, and this is really when your oral education, it gets really tested, because now you have someone who is essentially ignorant, right? They don't know what it is that you're trying to do for them. They think that getting a cleaning or getting what their insurance pays for is what is the standard. Like, this is what I need because this is what I pay for. But you're saying you have to tell them, like, and what I tell my patients, like, well, listen, if you got diagnosed with cancer, right, you're not going to just say, well, that's cool. That's cool. I got cancer, but can you just check my kneecap? You know what I'm saying? Can you you just pat me with the little hammer real quick and make sure my reflex is good? Like, you're going to be like, whoa, okay. So I have something that I could potentially die from. What do I need to do next? All right. This is why we're talking about the SRP. So that's when your ability to, now, don't get me wrong. If you do your best oral education that you can do, there still will be people who are just going to say, I'm good, because of whatever's blocking their mind. But you have to try to figure out, what I try to do is figure out what is the holdup. Is it money, right? What's stopping you from accepting this? Because if I'm telling you that something is harming you, in any sense of that, someone would want to be helped, right? They would say, all right, well, help me. I don't want to be harmed. So what's going on? What do I need to do? So it means that something's not connecting. It's either the money that's blocking them, it's the time, because sometimes it's people's job where they're saying, I don't have time to take off and be coming back up here to do those kind of things. I just need my cleaning today so I can see you in 6 months again. Sometimes it is fear, and sometimes it's lack of understanding what you're saying, right? And then also sometimes it is a money thing, in the sense of they might think that you're just trying to upsell them something and get them to pay for a more expensive treatment than what they're already should be covered with their insurance. So your oral education is critical. Teaching them exactly what's going on. I go basic. I ask them, I say, what is it? I always ask, do you like science? Because I want to know, like, who I'm talking to. What's your dental IQ like? Or what is your IQ like as far as understanding what I need to tell you? That I can give it to you simple. I can say, hey, you got a flesh-eating bacteria that's in your mouth, right? I need to go in and clean it out because it's destroying bone. Or I can say, all right, listen, you know your immune system, right? What happens when your immune system gets triggered? Your white blood cells happen, right? So then they're built up in your gums. That's why they're bleeding. That's why they're puffy, right? So you got a lot of white blood cells there because they're fighting off infection, right? And then when I'm explaining to somebody who's like science, they're like intrigued like a kid, you know, they're like, really? Okay, that makes sense. That's why my gums are bleeding. And I say, all right. And in that wake, right? So just imagine a battle going on. In that wake, your bone is being destroyed. And your bone being destroyed is causing deeper pockets, which is allowing more bacteria to have space to grow and thrive, because your blood cells can only do so much without our help. That's why we're here, right? So when I start explaining it like that, then they are like, okay, yo, nobody never broke it down to me like that. So, and I say, listen, it's gonna sound very daunting, right? We're doing scaling and root planing. We're going underneath the gums and cleaning. But what I want to tell you is that we can tackle this thing piece by piece, but doing nothing is not a good option. So we can do one quad, right? Then we can do another quad another day or another time, another week, you know, when you're available. But at least we're moving in a forward progression instead of being stagnant and waiting, you know, and just allowing more damage to happen. So when you see where I'm at?
Yeah.
Like if you were a patient, would you sign the treatment plan if you were my patient and I was talking to you like this?
Definitely.
Dang, that's why they call you the Black Panther. You know, and just to piggyback off of you, Chris, though, never assume that a patient isn't listening, because I've had patients before who have like the worst attitudes and are like, you know, like kind of just like blocking me out. And I'm still going to do my thing. I'm still going to explain the progression. I'm still going to try to educate you the best I can. And then, you know, I've had moments where I'm like, geez, that person was such a jerk. You know, after they left, I'm like feeling kind of down and stuff. And then 6 months when they come back, they thank me.
Yeah.
Hey, nobody's ever explained anything like that. No one's ever taken the time to tell me. And I just wanted to say thank you. I've been flossing daily now. My gums look really good. You know, and it's really funny because you never know who's actually listening. So don't ever assume. Don't ever assume, you know?
Yes, that's critical.
So with that being said, we're just going to kind of wrap things up. I just want to hear, Derek, do you have any questions, by the way?
No, you've actually answered all my questions as we were going through. I plugged in and asked a couple. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
It's giving me an idea of what clinic would be like, I guess, for the first session. We'll have another one on the next, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So with that being said, then, do you guys have, let's wrap it up on a positive note. What is your first positive experience that you had in clinic, like now being in the real world? What is something that really stands up to you that you'd like to share?
Man, I'm gonna say that being a student, you know, it was a dream to have that RDH on the end of my name. You know, I looked forward to that. I couldn't wait for my white coat ceremony. I couldn't wait for the pinning ceremony. You know, I worked really hard for it. You know, I went through a lot, and I know we all have. So a big positive is that when you enter into this new world of being a licensed dental hygienist, recognize who you are, you know, recognize what you've done, because you are a licensed provider now. You are providing care to the general masses, and they look up to you as like a superhero in a sense, right? You now have the opportunity to impact people's lives. So that was very critical to me, with like just being who I am and being a licensed provider as a hygienist, and the fact that you are able to give back in that way. So just be excited about that and own that.
I think that I don't know who's at my door right now. I think that knowing that you are making an impact on somebody's life. I had like a 6-year-old as one of my first patients, and she had never been to the dentist. That was the first time she had ever come to the dentist. She had a couple cavities, and then I cleaned her teeth and I taught her all sorts of things. So she comes in later to get her cavities taken care of, and like she saw me in the hallway, and she like stopped what she was doing and like left her mom to come and give me a hug. And she's like, "Hi, you're my favorite person." And I was like, "I'm not crying. I'm not crying. You're crying. It's fine." Because she just remembered, she's like, she just was so excited to see me because she had such a pleasant experience with me, and that just really made me really excited about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think one of the main reasons why I wanted to go into hygiene was because I wanted to help people. For me, my smile means the world to me, and I wanted to help people in the sense of building that confidence. I wanted to help. When you look at someone, that's the first thing you see are the eyes and their smile. And so I know I wanted to help people and make them feel that sense of confidence and how can I help them. And so for me, I think that's been the best part is I've had bad days, yes, but I've had a lot of really great days too, where I've had the 7-year-old patient who told me they wanted to grow up and be a hygienist because of me. And it was really funny because this little girl also told me that she wanted to grow up, maybe become a dentist, buy the practice and call it Dr. Fun. And she's like, this appointment was so much fun with you, Brooke. And she's like, and then we can work together. And, and it's so funny because you never know who's actually looking up to you. You never know who you're actually impacting. I've had patients who've come and it becomes like a little therapy session where they're, hey, look, I just got divorced and I'm going through this. And so it's just that little bit of time that you spend with someone. You never know how you can change their lives. So, yeah.
Yeah, so gosh, this was a really good video. I think that a lot of people are going to get a lot out this, but like everybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I've had people message me on Instagram and Facebook just asking questions, and I have no problems answering. But before we completely wrap up, Chris, let us know like what platforms we can find you on, all your different usernames, all that jazz.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. So on Facebook. So just to let everybody know, my real name is actually Christopher Williams. So Chris Williams on Facebook. Then I also have my YouTube channel, which is Chris Love. You type in Chris Love, that should come up. I have Profi Kings, that it has an Instagram page and a Facebook page. So Profi Kings _Profi _Kings on Instagram. And then just Profi Kings on Facebook. What else? Yep, you can find me on Instagram. Personally, Instagram, Chris _Love. And yeah, those are all my.
Well, thank you so much, Black Panther, for being with us today. I really appreciate it. We had so much fun with you. So thank you for.
Oh, wait, let me drop the website too. So my website, I forgot the website, www.smileheroics.com. Awesome. That's my LLC that everything falls under that.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I think everybody's going to really enjoy this video. So next week, we're going to kind of continue this conversation. We're going to do a part 2, kind of get more into the meat and potatoes of seeing your patients, kind of things that you want to look for in an office that may let you know what kind of office that's not going to work out for you. Make sure you subscribe to the Brown Girl RDH channel, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you guys. Okay, we'll see you soon. Yeah.